Yeah. So why don't we start with introduction of your names and the roles that you have here at Mepkin?
I'm Stan Gimula, the Abbot Emeritus of Mepkin. I was the successor of Father Francis Klein, and I was the abbot for 12 years, and Francis was abbot for 16 years.
And I'm Father Joe Tedesco, and I'm the current superior of the Abbey. Okay, and I've been here at Mepkin for 11 years. I came from New Jersey as a pastor there for 28 years, but I'm here. And so I was appointed the superior after Stan's term had ended, and um, that's where we are.
Great.
Yeah.
Uh, Tell us a little bit about Mepkin Abbey, where we are, and the campus itself.
Well, we're in technically in Cordesville with the Monk's Corner Post Office because it fits the name. Okay. And we were founded in 1949 from the Abbey of Gethsemane in Kentucky. Sent 29 monks here in November of 49, and we've been here ever since. So this year is our 70th year here at Mepkin. So we're going to celebrate that this year. We're real happy about that. Right now in the community, there's 15 monks in the Mepkin community, and we have 3,000 acres. That was given to us by the Luce family back in 49. And we are a cloistered contemplative Roman Catholic community of monks. And so we live a life of prayer and silence and solitude and seek to be seekers of God in the deepest way, really in the mystical tradition, and also to be prophetic in the sense of a sign to the church and the world that God is the center of life and that seeking God is the answer to life.
In the 3,000-acre property on the Cooper River, what does that mean to the brothers here, and what role does the land and the landscape here play in your mission?
Well, it plays a great mission because it's a sacred land. It has enormous history from the Native Americans till the current day. And so lots and lots of important events happened on this land. It's always been named Mepkin from the very beginning. We believe it's a Native American name meaning serene. So the sacred place adds to our sacred life on this sacred place. And I think our life adds the sacredness of prayer to the sacred place. So many people are buried on the property from ages past. And so all of that creates this powerful, I think, mystical place here. And when people drive in, they say they feel peace as soon as they drive in. Well, where does that come from? It comes from all of that sacredness and mysticism in the deep sense that is part of this place, part of this land. So I think part of that, and it's always been our tradition as Cistercians, as monks, to be attached to the land and to celebrate the land. And so this all fits here at Mepkin so powerfully with that. I'm sure Stan had probably more to add to that. But
What I would add is that when we dedicated the bell tower, we kind of capsulized how we feel about the land, in the sense that we've come here and we didn't bulldoze everything and plop down a medieval monastery, but we came here and we took what was good from the past, so that we honor the Native Americans, we honor the African Americans that lived and died on this land. We honor the patriots who did, and the Luce family, so that each one of the bells was rung in a different way to symbolize that, and that's what we've always tried to do.
There's been a lot of change and growth in Berkeley County over the last few decades. What role has Mepkin Abbey and the brothers here played in that, and what have those threats meant to you all, and the role you play both in the spiritual sense and in the community at large.
What got Father Francis energized on this whole environmental was the I-73 supposedly going to come through here, and it was made a big deal, and some state legislator up in Greenville area looked at a map and said, "Oh, well, the best way to do I-73 is to do this way," and that was right through the absolute middle of our property. And so we had Dana Beach and Jim Rozier the first time that they were, I don't know if it was the first time, but they were agreed on a particular thing. And one of the news stations in Charleston came out to interview Father Francis and Dana and Jim, and we were down at the gate, and that was, in actual fact, that was where this legislator said that the road should go, and so from then we started what was called the Cooper River Forum, and the Cooper River Forum was the corridor, and we had the head of Santee Cooper was the chair of the committee at the beginning. He's no longer there, John Tinkin, and it was through Father Francis and Strawn Donnelly of the Humans in Nature Foundation that put this together. And Strawn's big thing was, you've got to invite all the people to be around the table. And so Dana was there, and Jim Rozier was there representing development. And we had people from the state, DHEC people and EPA people, and we had people that were landowners that were very much, this is my land and I can do whatever I want with it. And if I want to have a housing development, I can have a housing development. And then we had landowners who were very conservation minded. And so there was 48 of us gathered around the table. And Father Francis stood up at the beginning and said, now there's one rule in this discussion. We don't point fingers. You're the problem, Dana. You're the problem, Jim. We don't point fingers. And we all have a stake in this. What do we want the Cooper River to look like? And at the end of it, John Tinkin stood up and said, Father Francis, if we had had this meeting 5 years ago, the Cooper River corridor would have gone through. And at that point in time, at the time of the Cooper River Forum, the Cooper River corridor was pretty much knocked out. It was very much watered down. And so Francis continued from there, and Mepkin's involvement from there, in order to bring some sanity to the discussions and not just money.
With that in mind, what do you see the greatest success that came from bringing those people to the table today?
So far, the biggest success has been around one landowner who was a very much originally, this is my land and I can do what I want with it, just did a 180 like Jim Rozier did. And he's put his land in easement, and that's part of Mepkin. Well, we were originally offered by the Luce family 7,000 acres. We only accepted 3,000. And the rest of it was sold to a landowner, the Meade family. And Bobby Meade became a very, I remember going to a meeting in Monk's Corner, at which Bobby was sitting there. He wasn't one of the speakers. It was about land use in Berkeley County, and he was right at the front door, and he met everybody that came in. He says, "Do not sign this bill or whatever. Don't be for this." Everybody should be able to do whatever they want with their land. And through the Cooper River Forum, through Francis, um, he changed. And so his 4,000 acres over here is under easement. Our property is under easement. And then Bono Ferry, which was part of the Dana Beach, Father Francis working, that's 10,000 acres, that's under easement. So I think that's the biggest thing. And so that is forced in a good way several of the landowners along our road to also put their property in easement. The one right next to us is now under easement as well.
How do you feel that easements play a role in the celebration and preservation of this landscape, and what that means for the community at large and the benefits that brings?
Well, it brings a peacefulness in that there's no development. It keeps the place green and natural. And I think we need that more than anything today because there's less and less of it. And so when you can find an environment as beautiful as the forest here and the river and the land that goes with it, I mean, it's just beautiful. And it does something to the spirit. And so we need that as human beings. So thank God they preserved it. So if not, well, there wouldn't be any left. And what would we be? Where would we be? So I think that it has something deep to say to the human spirit. And I think we forget that we need the green space to be who we're really meant to be. So I mean, that's the importance of it for me. Yeah.
In moving forward into the next chapter of Mepkin Abbey and the role that you play in the community, what do you see the greatest opportunities for the celebration and continuation of these type of cooperative opportunities to bring people together?
Well, I think it's an opportunity for us to continue to support the conservation and to let people know that we're behind it. Because I think at this point in our history, Mepkin has shown to be a real force in preservation and in promoting preservation. So we want to continue to have that role in the area to that people know that we are behind what they desire as well. Because I think when you read the papers, you find out that people don't want more development. So we want them to know that we're behind that and we're supporting that as well. We're not enclosed here without understanding that reality and how can we support life in the whole area, not just for ourselves.
Before wrapping up, I'd love to get a little bit of information about how you all sustain yourselves here on the monastery. How what you all do to cultivate mushrooms, and as well as the retreat center here.
Well, as monks, we've always been making a living off the land. We've been in agriculture from the very beginning, and now we're growing mushrooms. And we also maintain the forest, so we're cutting timber and replanting. So we're constantly preserving the land by that process, and that we make a living out of that. And our retreat center, as you mentioned, is another way that we bring people in, not only for their personal prayer time that we try to help them with, but also to enjoy the land. They come and walk the land and come to peace and prayer, and they come to healing. A lot of healing happens here because of the land. Being in this environment is so healing when you're here for a while. And so the retreat center really has a role to play in welcoming people into that kind of a space of peace and healing, and people come back and back because they experience that here. And so, and we continue that process.
Part of that healing is that this is a safe place. Mm-hmm. We are very open to all kinds of people. We do not foist our Catholicism onto them. They can share in our worship if they wish to. They can worship in the woods if they wish to. We do not we're very open to people feel very comfortable here without any, you know, feeling that they have to do this or that, or they have to agree with us. It's a safe place for them, and that makes it also a healing place for them.
There's not too many expectations being placed on people, and we really receive people of any faith tradition. Okay? And any faith tradition can find a space here of real prayer and peace and healing. So that's what we're trying to create and preserve and welcome people into all the time.
If there is one thing that you could describe about Berkeley County for a person who's never been here before, what resonates most with you of how someone might experience this area? What sticks out as something that's completely distinct to the Cooper River corridor that's unlike any other place?
I think there's a mixture of the plantations that you see some open farmland, and then you see the forest and the river and the wildlife that you see along the river. I mean, the birds and all. I mean, just all beautiful stuff. And for me, coming from the Northeast, this is a whole new kind of way of life, and it just touches your soul. So I think that's the value that Berkeley County and the Cooper River corridor offers to a lot of people. So I think it's the gift that it offers.
Along with that, Richard Porcher, a former teacher at the Citadel, we had him do a 4-season study of the fauna and the flora at Mepkin. Just on our 3,100 acres, we have over half of the flora and fauna that are found in Berkeley County right on this land. And so I think that there is so much here. Strawn Donnelly always talked about the fact that he was at the think tank up on the Hudson River for many, many years, the Hastings Foundation. And they came originally from Chicago. And they said, Chicago is lost, and the Hudson River is pretty much lost. But here we still have everything, most everything. And so we've got to have what we like to call smart development. We're not opposed to development, but it's got to be smart development so that you have communities that fit together, and it's not just sprawl. And what you find in Berkeley County is all those good things. Nature and the wildlife, it's all here.
That's fantastic. I think that's great. I appreciate you guys taking the time to do this.
Glad to be part of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.